Okay, hey guys, hope you're ready for week 9 of Tin Whistle. So obviously start off the class laying out the expectations and consequences. Tell them, please put your tin whistle in front of you, don't blow it while I'm talking. Just always start off that way and set them up for success. Second thing you want to do is we always start off with review. And if you look in your foundations guide for week 9, we're on page 164. They always have you starting off with review. We're just adding each week to their vocabulary and what they are being exposed to with music. So, week 7, it was very easy. We were just really introducing it. Week 8, we got a little bit more into theory, trying to, do the left-hand exercise. And we're just going to keep adding on each week. But once we're adding more to it and it's getting a little harder, please just keep in mind that we're really just exposing them to this. Some of them will probably never pick up their tin whistle again after this is over. Some of them may play it all the time. But even if for the little ones, even if they come out with one vocabulary word that they remember and they only remember one, that's still one more that they know about music than when they started. And they'll always remember what a tin whistle is, so that's your first vocabulary word right there. So please just keep in mind not to stress. Just teach the lesson, do what you can, and what sticks is what sticks, and we're just exposing them to this. So, okay, so to review, they said you can look at Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and you can review it that way. I've done that before. Sometimes I do that if we have some extra time as well, but I really do like to draw it out for them to add on, to show them that we're adding on. Week 8, remember when I started reviewing, I drew the staff, and then I got to use that to draw the whole notes and the half notes. So that's what I like to do. That's how I like to start off my lesson. And again, I use my big whiteboard so that this isn't flopping around everywhere and really unstable. So the first one we want to review is from week 7, which is a staff. So I want to go ahead and draw a rectangle. Let me cut that in half. Okay, so then you ask them what that is, and they should say a staff. And then start in with your week 8 vocabulary, where we did treble clef, whole notes, half notes, and all of that. So start off with this. Draw your little J. Ask them what that is, and they'll say a treble clef. And then you can go on and do that. Ask them what that is, a whole note, and then, half note. Draw your quarter note, and so on and so forth. You can keep going with a bigger board. You won't have this tiny one. But so go ahead and review those things. And then the next thing it wants you to review, I think on number 2, is to review the treble clef note name rhyme that we learned in week 8. You want to keep going over that each week. It really helps. It helps them. So the treble clef note name rhyme, you'll say, when the note is on a line, every good boy does fine. When the note is on a space, it spells the word face. Okay, so go over that with them. And then number 3, now we're really getting into the new vocabulary. It says the rhythm is the pattern that the notes take when played. The pattern is achieved by having some notes played for a longer time and some for a shorter time. This is where we start to lose people that, haven't had a lot of musical experience. Week 7 is not too bad. Week 8, we're throwing a little more at you. And week 9 and 10, I feel like it really is hitting people a little heavier, and we start to lose people. But stay with me. I'm going to help you. So, the first way that we kind of introduce rhythm is talking about our time signature. Now, this doesn't need to really be discussed in class. I'm just discussing it with you, tutor to tutor or parent to parent. But there are many time signatures out there. 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. But in tin whistle, we're only using 4/4. So just for your own knowledge, if it said 3/4, that's like a waltz. We're only getting 3 beats per measure. So like 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Those are like waltz and things like that. 2/4, a lot of like marching bands use things like that. A lot of like our older patriotic songs are written in 2/4. But for tin whistle, for most songs out there, majority of the songs, it's 4/4. So what that means is they go on to explain it to you, which you can draw because you reviewed and you drew all this. You can draw your time signature on there and show them what that looks like. So right after your treble clef, you can draw that, and you have your line. So we're using 4/4. So the book does go on and explain that to you. So it's telling you that the top number tells how many beats are in the measure, and the bottom number tells you what kind of note gets one beat. Okay, so that means, so if the top number is telling you how many beats are in a measure, that's 4 beats for every measure. We're about to get into what a measure is. And then the bottom number is telling you what note gets 1 beat. So that would be the quarter note, because it's quarter. So the quarter note's getting 1 beat. All right, so we're going to come back to this. Hang in there. Okay, so a measure is a unit on the staff that contains the number of beats indicated in the time signature. So like we said, there's going to be 4 beats for every measure. So each chunk of each measure, each chunk on the staff is going to say inside of here there can only be 4 beats. That's it. That's all that's allowed. So the way we create a measure is bar lines. Make sure you really drill that vocabulary. It's all in bold. It's right there for you. So with a bar line, we create a measure. Do another bar line here and create a measure. And skipping ahead a little bit, I would have to add another half note here and 3 more quarter notes, because we're about to learn the number that each beats get. So what we want to go over with them, I like to write it out. So I draw a whole note, and we discuss that this gets 4 beats. And we're going to demonstrate this. We're going to physically demonstrate this next, but I like to write them all out and go over with them. So a whole note gets 4 beats. A half note gets 2, because it's half of that. It's all mathematical, okay? It makes a lot of sense. And a quarter note gets 1. Then the dotted half note, the dot adds 1 more beat to that, because it's hard. I mean, instead of doing like a half note and a quarter note, you can just do a dotted half note, and that gets 3. And then your 8th note, and this is where I lose people, that's 2 8th notes, but 1 8th note gets a half of a beat. That's it, a half. And we're going to physically demonstrate that. So I like to, on my board, write all of this out. It's there for them to see. So basically, you know, if an 8th note gets a half of a beat, 2 8th notes would get 1. It's a full beat. So a lot of times in our real simple music, you'll just see 2 8th notes together. But so let's go into that more. So what they want you to do is like clap it out and physically show them. This is helpful because it's keeping them on rhythm. They have to keep track of what the notes get. They get to practice it, but without it being so overwhelming of trying to play an instrument at the same time of learning that. So the way we would go over that is, so I don't like to just clap how many beats I'm doing. I like to continue clapping so that they can see the rhythm moves throughout the entire song. I mean, that's just how it really is when you play a song. The rhythm keeps going. Whether there's a note here or a note there, higher notes, lower notes, the rhythm is just continuous. It just continues to move. So, you know, when you're directing your class for tin whistle, or when you have a director of the band, they're the ones that keep the beat, okay? So the way we would demonstrate a whole note is, so you would say, okay, so a whole note gets 4 beats. So you would demonstrate it first, and then I like to ask my class to join in with me and give it a try. So what we would do is clap the rhythm, and then the whole note is since it gets 4 beats, that's every time we're coming down, you play or you sing for that long. So it's only, so when I clap 4 times, that's it. That's the only thing that should be coming out of my mouth. So I'll just demonstrate that because I think I explained that a little weird. But it's, so we're clapping the beat. So a whole note would be, That's it. You heard me clap 4 times while I sang, and then I stopped. Okay? And then you can ask your class to join in with you and give it a try. So you're clapping all together, have them clap all together, and it's ready and ba. And that's it. Okay? So you can do that a couple times if you want. If it's stressful because you have little kids and they're not really getting it, then that's fine. They tried it out. And then move on to a half a note. So ready and ba. That's it. I only sang for 2 beats, claps, beats, okay? And then you can have them join in with you and do that. Same for the quarter note. Ba, ba. It's only getting 1, okay? It's short. The dotted half note, so that gets 3. Ba, ba, just like that, okay? The 8th note is where we, for some reason, lose people, and that is that it gets a half of a beat. In my mind, this makes perfect sense, but if it doesn't, I'll explain it a little better for you. So, I mean, it's really just that simple. I mean, it's just only getting half of a beat. So the way that you would physically demonstrate this is, if we're keeping the rhythm like this, and let's say we have like a quarter note, ba, ba, the 8th note is when we're playing on the upbeat. That's what, I mean, that's what a lot of musicians call it, because you're tapping your foot. This is down, up, down, up. So I call it the upbeat in my head. That's how I was taught. But so for the 8th note, I'll go really slow. 2, 3, 4. So it'd be ba, 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 ba. So for each beat, I can either do 2 8th notes, or if I do 1, it's just like on the upbeat like this. So 1 8th note, I'll show you again, would be ba, ba, ba. But for 2 8th notes, ba, 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 like that. I hope that makes sense to you. So the 8th notes are only getting half of a beat. If that doesn't make sense, let me know. Do some research on it or something. But so 8th notes get a half. So I like to show them, and then I like to have them do it with me, maybe 1 or 2 times, depending on if this is like stressing out your class or how they're doing with it. So once you go through all of those and you demonstrate the quarter note, the half note, whole note, dotted half, and the 8th note, they have a little section here where you can try it out with your class. So if you want to look, I'll do it with you right now. If you want to look on page 166 in your foundations guide. So if we're clapping like this, it would be ba, 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 like that. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, rewind it and watch it again until you get it. I'm totally kidding. So, and then it even says you can take it further with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or Mary Had a Little Lamb. You guys can clap together and go through that if you want. If that little exercise is enough for your class and you have really tiny kids, then just leave it at that. Really the key is to feel out your class. I mean, don't get lazy with it, but we don't want to stress anybody out either. So do at least the minimum for CC. But it does say that you can clap the rhythm to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But like I said, if that's too hard, just stick to, you can at least do this. But if they're not really tiny kids, I do recommend going through like Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and going through that with them. And then now it's time for tin whistle practice. So it says to go over the parts of the tin whistle. That diagram is on page 158 if you for some reason need that again. So remember, we go over the parts of the tin whistle. And then each time that they pick that up to play, just please, as the tutor, as the adult, remind them, like, sit up straight, 45-degree angle, left hand on top, right hand on the bottom. I don't let anybody play until I've gone around and checked that everyone is sitting properly, just to ensure that this becomes a habit. And so it says to warm up by playing the left hand exercise that we did for week 8. That's on page 163. So give that a little try again. See how that goes. That way we're warming up, we're practicing that again, and then move on to what we're doing new this week, and that is the right hand exercise. So before you start the right hand exercise, you want to introduce the 3 new notes, which is an F. So that'll be with 4 finger holes covered. So show them the F, maybe have them play the F. And then the next one is E with 5 finger holes covered. Show them that, maybe have them play it. And then we have the D where all of them are covered, all 6 of them. And remember to tell your little ones. I see, you know, when my class was a little bit younger, they would try to just stick the tip of their finger in there, and it's really too hard. Just lay the pad of your finger across it. That's all you need to do, just to block the air from coming out. And then, so once you've introduced that, go ahead and give the right hand exercise a try. Go through that with them. If they're really little, you're going to have to just call out each one and go around and help them and have them practice that. If they're older and you've got it, maybe run through it a couple of times. You have to just feel that out for yourself. And then to end with the packet I made you guys, week 9, this is where we're getting a little bit harder. If you have little kids with this packet, like really little ones, you may have to just stand at your board and just have them copy what you're drawing and just to go over it with them. If you have the older kids, kind of maybe in the middle, you know, the journeyman, they may just need a little bit of help, a little bit of coaching on that. Masters should probably know most of these answers. So in this top box, you can see that I wanted you to have them draw a staff, draw the treble clef, the time signature, use bar lines to make the measures. Keep drilling that vocabulary, please. And you can put some notes in there. So what you want to do this week, remind them, going back to what I drew here, incorporate this into your lesson plan, that so for this measure, this whole note being here, that's already 4 beats, so that one's full. This one only has 2 beats, so I can put a variety of notes in there, just like you can make $1 many different ways, many different coins. So I could simply just put, to make it easy, do another half note in there. So 2 and 2 is 4. I could put 4 quarter notes in here, or I could do 4 eighth notes and 2 quarter notes, you know, something like that. So each one needs to be adding up to 4 beats. We can't just be putting notes wherever, like last week when they did that. So this week, try to remind them of that. So you have have them draw the staff, have them draw the treble clef, the time signature, use bar lines for measures, and then they want to fill those measures up. Maybe they'll make 2 measures if they're really little, and that's enough for them. Or maybe they'll make 5 measures. But as long as each measure only has 4 beats in it, totally fine. It's great. And it can't have less, because we're getting it. It's a little difficult to go ahead. We're learning about rests coming up. So just because you're not playing 4 beats in a measure, there will always be 4 beats. So if you're not playing, there's going to be rests. Don't get into that now, though. That's coming up either next week or week 11. We're going to learn about whole rest and half rest and quarter rest and all of that. So as of today, of week 9, they only know about notes. So each measure needs to equal 4 beats, okay? And then underneath it says how many beats does each note get. So the answer would be 4 for the whole note, 2 for the half note, 3 for the dotted quarter note, so the dotted half note, 1 for the quarter note, and 1/2 for the eighth note, just like that. That's your answers for that. And then this is going over the treble clef note name rhyme. So remember, go over it again when the note is on a line. Every good boy does fine. They need to fill in, they need to write the name of that note. E, G, B, D, F. Okay? And then when the note is on a space, it spells the word face. So using that rhyme that we have taught them, they can fill in the name of each note. Okay? And if you, as a tutor, need to check yourself on that, the answer would be on page 162. That's basically what they're doing. They're just going to name each note like this. Okay? That's all they're doing. So that is it for week 9. I know I threw a lot at you guys. We're adding a little more each week. And then week 10, we have scale, octave, sharp, flat, and tempo. So we're going to be throw in even more in there. But if you have any questions, please let me know. And that is it.